Get into the news review now, and I've been joined by Dr. Pakwesi Eduafola Beidu. He is a development and policy analyst. Pakwesi, well, I have to bring your doctor, but you and I, it's easy. We do Pakwesi and then Kojo.
Kojo, good morning.
Good morning, Pakwesi. I trust all is well.
Kojo, all is well. I'm currently in Cape Coast. You remember your famous coming Kuma Hall?
Allah, yeah. That's the hall.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So that's where you still are?
Yes, I do come around for some from some jobs, but I based in Accra.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good for you. Well, Pakwesi, as we do always, we give you maximum 2 minutes for you to give us your reflections, and then we delve into what the papers are reporting.
Thank you, Kojo, and a very good morning to your cherished viewers and listeners. This morning, I think I'm very much sure most of the papers will capture the issue of Ghana Water Company proposing the proposed tariff increment. We are, hearing all the discussions surrounding the proposed increment and what stakeholders are saying. Kojo, for me, I'm much passionate or intrigued about the reasoning behind the increment, which is the popular galamsey that we have been talking about all this while. I am a sustainability champion. I believe in promoting environmental issues and ensuring that our natural resources are well protected. And so when it comes to issues like this, I tend to be a bit passionate. We have talked about galamsey in this country for a lot, for so many years now. And almost every time we talk about it, people feel it is an issue that may not probably affect them in one way or the other. But indirectly, every Ghanaian has been paying for the cost of galamsey activities in this country. And this proposal, which the Ghana Water Company has indicated without missing words that it is out of galamsey that this proposal is coming up. It is something that we all have to be worried about. It's not just about the increment coming up, but it's about the reasoning behind it. And more especially because it is not like the increment is as a result of galamsey activities which occurred in the past. This is an activity which is currently still ongoing. And so what it means is that as far as galamsey continue to be perpetuated or undertaken in the country, we should always be ready to pay for more. The next proposal may not be 220, 230, 250% or 280 as they are proposing now. It may go beyond that because the impact will become more incremental. And so my concern is if somebody is in Volta region where probably there's no galamsey and you feel it doesn't concern you, and so whatever way the advocates will talk about or the noise you're going to make against government, you don't care, you are not concerned. This is the time. You are paying for your silence. You are going to pay for not being concerned about the issues by paying for more tariffs. And the interesting thing is that these tariffs are across board. And so when the increment comes, wherever you are, whether there is galamsey in your area or not, you are going to pay. And that is something we must be worried about. There is something we call tragedy of the commons. The tragedy of the commons. We have the resource there. Few people are exploiting it. But in the end, all of us are going to pay for it. And so it is important that we as a people understand that if someone is perpetuating an act which is not good, especially with issues of natural resources, which does not have its impact within a confined geographical area, but extend to wider populace. It is important that wherever you are, you show some concern, you add your voice so that we can all fight the menace. If not, we are going to bear the brunt of it. I just did a simple calculation of the increment, and I asked myself, look, the average household, an average household in Ghana is about 3.6. That is about four household members. Now, if you have a household or a family where you are 4 in number, the simple calculation is that currently people are paying about 200 to 300 cedis per month for water bill. Now, with this proposed increment, you are now going to move from 200 cedis, which you are paying now, to about 700 cedis and more. How much is your salary? How much do you earn every month? So if you are earning 3,000 cedis, if you are earning 2,000 cedis, you are going to spend almost 50% of your money or 30% of your income to pay for water. What comes with electricity and housing itself and all the other expenses that comes up? This is a critical issue that we can't sit down, we can't keep quiet over it. Not to talk of even the health and other implications. If you are going to spend almost 30% or 40% of your earnings on water alone, and now this same galamsey is bringing so much health impact, which treating it or taking care of it to become problematic, because we all know the cost involved in treating kidney problems. We all know the cost involved in treating problems with our liver and all the other organs in our system. Now, if the same galamsey is giving us all these implications, all these health implications, plus the fact that we have to even pay for more, then what is really the benefit out of galamsey to the few people, to the extent that the entire population in the country will have to suffer so much to that extent? And so I am pleading with all stakeholders this morning that enough is enough. Let us all rise up, support government, and ensure that this galamsey menace is dealt with once and for all. And to government, we know the power lies in your hands. You have the authority. You can drive this change. We have been talking so much about the need for government to be very proactive in addressing galamsey issues in this country. We expect government at this stage to really take the mantle. And I want to believe that Ghanaians, looking at the way now water bill is coming, is swallowing our necks with the proposals and all that, we should be ready to support government in ensuring that the needed change is driven and is achieved. If government fails, then I'm expecting people to really rise up and enforce government to do the needful, so that all of us will find a better place, so that at least our lives will be more sustainable. Remember, sustainability is not about today. It's about the children, it's about your children, it's about my children, it's about the future generations. And so if you don't act now, thinking that we can amass all the money from gold and then leave the future generation to perish, then unfortunately, we are not living sustainably. That is the little I want to share this morning.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Pakwesi Edwafola-Baidu there. We also have been joined by Dr. I'm trying to get it. Dr. Asa Sante is also with us on Zoom. Doctor, I'll give you 2 minutes as well for you to give us your reflections.
Right. Kojo, good morning. And good morning to my colleague, Dr. Pakwesi. Of course, our viewers. This morning, my message is very simple, and it's about the examination malpractices at WAEC. At certain schools, no WAEC, certain schools.
Okay.
I am not a happy person, because, you see, after teaching, learning must take place. And when people learn, they must be examined. So in all these processes, we want to make sure that we get the basics right, so that at the end of the day, what comes out as a product is something worth its salt. We have heard the story. Your station broke the story and all that. It's very, very unfortunate that you have people who aid, students in exam. You have people who support the cause of wrongdoing relative to examination and all that. Let me bend back a little bit, and then within a short time, do justice to some of these things. These things did not start today. When we were students in the 80s and 90s, we heard stories, some schools where these things are institutionalized, and very little were heard about that. I must also say that, or commend WAEC, that over the years, they have tried to put their foot down, but except that people always have different ways of going around the process. And today, people are using gadgets and all that. And then you see teachers also aiding. And if you look at the money involved and all that, the problem is multifaceted. One, socialization has broken down. You see these habits of students, which should not be the case, because you see parents themselves buying questions for students, going around to make sure that they do certain things to enhance the chances of their students or their children illegally. And we as a society will sit down on concern. We have also seen schools where authorities who are supposed to know better also support these efforts and up to date. Once our children are able to cross those hurdles, we are okay, because they come home with success stories. And then we have also WAEC as an institution, yes, despite the effort they are making. Sometimes if you see remuneration given to those who conduct examination and all that, it's nothing home to write about, right? I can recount my own experience where in the university, I think level 300, where we had opportunity to go and check scripts at WAEC and all that. The amount of money that they pay, I did not even take my check. I mean, but that is not to say that we should indulge in such practices to undermine our certificate. All in all that I want to say is that we as a society should sit down and think about this properly if we want our certificate to be meaningful to those who hold them. Otherwise, we will struggle, and then those who will do genuine work, at the end of the day, the bad ones, the bad nuts, will affect all of them, and our certificate will become meaningless in this country and across outside this country. And I'm not sure we want to invest in this. The costs of doing this is too much for the state. Let us set up and do the right things now.
But look, I mean, this has become a phenomenon where the larger part of society is even part, as according to our investigations, of orchestrating it. So what gives you the confidence, or what do you think can be done to change the narrative from what is happening now?
One is the socialization, where we inculcate proper values in children, that hard work pays, cutting corners, no. We do that. Do we do that at home, in schools, in public places? So the institutions that are responsible for this, are they doing their work? We need to up our game in that direction. Then two, advocacy on these things that looks shy away from this. What is the essence of going through all this, using all the bad routes and getting a certificate that is not recognized? And of course, measures to deal with this thing must be punitive enough to ward people of that path. And above all, we should be able to shame those who put themselves into this corner. Because sometimes when these things happen, we shove them under the carpet. And at the end of the day, it doesn't get aired. I am happy that your station and other stations have brought it out. We should. And I also urge WAEC to make sure that their rules are stringent, and they should be also be technologically advanced to be able to handle these things, because whether we like it or not, we are in an era of technology, and people given opportunity, they will do this. Put your foot down and ensure that these things work. And then Ghana Education Service should also play their role very well, so that their officers will be proud ambassadors of that institution, and they do the right things. That's all. Because at the university, when they come there, I can assure you, when you cross the line, we'll throw you out. It doesn't matter who gave birth to you.
All right. Now that parents themselves, those who have to start the socialization, are the ones paying for the, the malpractices. I don't know how this can be done, Doc, but we pray that they are able to lead the process and have a change of mind, so they can probably lead this whole agenda of training the kids well, for them to see that, well, passing the examination is not about cheating, but making sure that you do it on your own accord. Let me bring in Suleimana Braimah now. He is also joining us. So as we do, I'll give you 2 minutes as well to give us your reflections on issues that you want Kenyans to hear about before we go into the papers. Mr. Braimah, grateful to you for joining us here. I want to give you 2 minutes as well for you to give us what's on your mind that you want Ghanaians to hear about.
Well, good morning, and good morning, colleagues. Great to be back here. I think that my reflections will be about the general issues of our behavior, our attitudes, and our commitment towards the development of our country. As citizens, as leaders, and as community organizers. I think the point that Dr. Ansah Sante just talked about is part of the whole problems of society where now integrity is not regarded as a value. It's just about having your way. And I think it is something that is reflecting in every aspect of our life, including our governance, including even in the media, where journalists ourselves are not also quite determined and being resolute in terms of holding power to account, being honest, being sincere, and rather focusing on how to make money. In our schools, as Doc was saying, it's about how to pass. In our communities, it's about how to make money. In our churches and mosques, leaders are busily focusing on how to make money rather than how to shape behavior and how to get people to be morally upright. And I think these are the fundamentals that are devastating our country. That leads me to, for example, the devastation that is going on in terms of our environment, from illegal mining. And government upon government, we are promised that this will be fought. Yes, it is difficult to fight it. I know people are, making their living from galamsey and all of that, but I think that we shouldn't just simply look on while the future of our country is being destroyed, the future of future generations being destroyed, and then all we do is to make fanciful promises and faint-hearted commitments towards the fight. I think it is saddening to see that after the MPP, with all the failures, we brought in the NDC, and so far, I don't think that I would say that the government of the day has made any serious and realistic commitment towards the fight against galamsey. I think, if anything at all, Akufo-Addo was even much more stronger in terms of the rhetoric than we've seen under the Mahama regime. I think it will be one of the significant failures if the Mahama government fails to deal realistically with the galamsey situation, because it's not just about the environment that is being destroyed. This morning or yesterday, we heard about the request by Ghana Water in terms of the amount of the increases that they are requesting. And it's all about the river bodies or water bodies that have been so devastated and how much it will cost them to treat the water to be able to supply potable water to communities and to our people. So I think it's one of the major areas that the government has to look at. But as I said, it all comes down to the extent to which we are prepared as a nation to abide by the cardinal values that makes countries great and makes citizens thrive. So that's what I would say.
Well, let's see how that goes. But maybe I'll pick your thought on the president meeting the press tonight. We understand that at 8 p.m. today, 10 September, the president will be meeting with the press. What's your expectation, because you have a special focus on the media, what's your expectation of how this encounter should be tonight?
Well, I think it's a great thing. Previous governments had done that. Under President Akufo-Addo, it was initiated only to be abrogated or to be stopped along the line. And I remember the very last one, we did our usual analysis of how the president fared, the whole arrangement and how well or bad it was, the questions that were asked, how good or bad some of the questions were. Now, remember, after that, our report was put out, and usually we put out a report just hours after the session has ended. I got a call from one of the senior staffers at the presidency in charge of communications, complaining about the report that we had put out and saying that she thought that we would have been full of praise for the president for, organizing and engaging with the media, as if it was a favor being done the media. The president's action was a favor being done the media. And I remember on that call, the person saying, well, what if we don't do it again? And my response was, well, that's up to you, because you have the mandate to govern this country. And so it's up to you to want to do it or not to do it. It's about what you think is the best to be done. And true to her word, it was never done again. So it's great to learn that the President Mahama, wants to reinitiate or wants to bring back that whole phenomenon of engaging with the media and taking questions from the media on his leadership so far in the last 7 or 8 months. So we can look forward to it. And I hope that the media will take it as an opportunity to really ask the critical questions that perhaps you would never always find the president to respond to directly.
What are these critical questions you want the media to ask?
Well, I mean, there are issues about, as I mentioned, the galamsey fight, what is happening. Only yesterday, we put out a report in which, national security was indicted, in which the MP for a particular constituency was indicted, and in which
the Prestia constituency.
Yes, the Prestia issue. I think this presents a clear evidence for the government to act. Apart from that, I think a few days ago, the general secretary of the party, for example, raised issues about party people or officials who perhaps are colluding with previous officials of the previous government on matters of not, helping to ensure transparency and accountability. I think it will be important to hear from the president, even though he's not the attorney general, the issue about the fight against corruption, because increasingly people are becoming quite agitated with whether or not the government is truly committed to dealing with the issue of corruption, particularly corruption among previous officials, because this government is fairly new. And so we are yet to uncover whatever is happening at this stage. So it will be great to hear from the president, for example, this whole thing about ORA and whether we are really getting any results from the ORA process. The Attorney General has been organizing press conferences, updating citizens about processes and all of that, giving timelines which are not met, and so on and so forth. I think all these matters will be good to be explored, and critical other issues.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if Dr. Asante would also want to take a bite on this particular one, the president meeting the press tonight.
Yes, as my colleague Sule has said, he said it all. I'll add a few things to it. If you look at this model, it has been used over and over and again. And one want to see results from this. And what am I talking about here? It's not just that program that is organized. Journalists go there, post questions, and president will answer them and all that. But how he works with what? The information given to him. Yes, we want him to, after receiving that barrage of questions and having information from this, we should be able to see improvement in areas that the questions were posed at. We want to see that. So in other words, we want to see the president making use of the information given to him and then using it as part and parcel of the governance process or governance activity. And that is what we want. Not only that, we want questions that relate to political, issues in this country, the goings on within the political space. We want to see. And one of the things I want to see is arrest and detentions of people. And want to understand why. Why do we have that? And we need to be educated on that. The arrests, the detention, the bail conditions, and the rest of them. What is the rationale? What are the issues we need to know about that? Do we have to be worried about it or not? Are people doing the right things in there? We want to understand that. We also want to understand the economy, how far we have come, all right? Because yes, a few days ago, we realized that the CD has started what? The strength has started going down. And what is happening? Is there any hope for us? Yes, what is the employment situation in the country? Even though all these things I'm saying, the government is too young, all right? But we are saying that there is something that the government can do within this period. We want to see how far the government has gone relative to what? Employment conditions for young people who are yearning for jobs. We want to also see in the social area that what is happening? Boko conflict. How far have we gone with that? Why our people become what? Refugees in other countries? And what efforts are we doing to bring them home and make sure that they continue their lives from where they left off? What is happening in all these areas? We want to have what? Fair and honest answers. And then when we are able to get that through our representative, which are what? The journalists, whatever information that they will also glean from this process, we want our president to go home and look at them and factor them into the scheme of governance in the country.
Grateful to you. Let's go into the papers now. Daily Guide and the Ghanaian Times are reporting something similar. Then I want us to add them. Now, government secures $1 billion deal to support 300 small-scale mining operations. That's according to Sammy Jenfi. He says, or the story says, the government has secured $1 billion investment package through an MOU signed on August 22, 2025 with 3 international direct mining companies. The initiative, according to the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Gold Board, Mr. Sammy Jenfi, would support the establishment of over 300 responsible small-scale mining operations and is expected to create thousands of jobs while boosting sustainable gold production. The Gold Board, in partnership with the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, is also undertaking a detailed geological mapping to build a robust national data repository and reduce the environmental impact of exploration. Now, on the page 3 of the Daily Guide, it says, small-scale gold export hit $6 billion, according to the Gold Board. So, according to him, the country's small-scale gold export have surged to an unprecedented $6 billion in just 8 months of 2025. According to Sammy Jenfi, the record milestone represents 66.7 tons of gold exported between January and August this year. So here we have it. Government wants to support some 300 small-scale mining operations, and they say responsible small-scale operations. Along the same line, we're being told that local or small-scale gold export hit $6 billion. I don't know how we situate this in the context of our fight against, galamsey, and how this is also helping us, or how these 300 small-scale mining firms will help us deal with galamsey. Let me start with you, Suleimana Braimah, on this. Hello, Mr. Braimah. I want to find out from you, looking at the fact that we've raked in $6 billion from small-scale gold export in 8 months, and the fact that government has secured $1 billion to help establish what they call responsible small-scale mining operations, 300 of them. And I'm asking, looking at our export, looking at the effort to establish 300 responsible mining operations, how does that help us in dealing with what we have all been talking about, the impact of galamsey on our environment?
Well, I think that undoubtedly, as a country, we are endowed. I mean, it's not for nothing that we were called the Gold Coast, and it's important for us to have mechanisms that enable us to benefit from this natural endowment. I think over the years, what has happened is that we have rather had a curse from these endowments rather than the benefits that we should have. The arrangement that has been made in terms of the establishment of the Gold Board, I think is quite innovative and potentially helpful. But of course, we know Cocoa Board. I think that was the whole idea of establishing Cocoa Board. And over the years, what has happened? We are in a situation where, it's been about borrowing and all of that. Now people are willing to give out their cocoa lands for illegal mining and so on. So, of course, it's early days and the signs are quite positive and we can only remain hopeful. But as you rightly asked, how would we ensure that as we try to benefit from gold, we don't end up perpetrating the same problems that we've had over the years in terms of galamsey? As I said earlier, I don't think that I've seen anything significant to give me so much hope that the government is indeed fighting the phenomenon of galamsey. To a large extent, what we are seeing is that it is simply NDC people replacing NPP people. Whatever NPP people were doing in the illegal mining sector essentially has been taken over by NDC folks. And it's almost like, well, when they were in power, they were doing it. And why wouldn't we be allowed to do it when we are in power? We've heard stories about communities not allowing the security agencies that have been deployed to do their work or to go to their mine sites and basically ensure that their activities are brought to an end. So I think a lot will depend on what the government does and the commitment of the government to ensure that if indeed small-scale mining is going to be done, it is going to be done in a very organized way, in a legitimate way, in an environmentally sustainable and safe way. Because under the previous regime, we heard about the community mining scheme. If you read the policy or the document around the community mining scheme, you would say, well, this is a fantastic idea. But in the end, what happened? Community mining scheme was turned into another avenue for galamsey activities. So now we are hearing about sustainable small-scale mining. We can only closely monitor to be sure that the right things are being done so that, again, it wouldn't become an avenue for party people to make money. As we had before, party hiska, and therefore people just use galamsey as a mechanism to enrich themselves and to finance political activities. So I think we just have to keep a close eye, keep monitoring, and drawing the attention of the leadership of our country to whatever is happening within the communities and in the mining areas.
Okay. Let me bring in Dr. Asante. Doc, now, if you hear the establishment of new mining, small-scale mining operations, and they classify it as responsible, I mean, once we have existing small-scale mining companies, must we establish this 300, or we must look at how we can support the existing ones to rather improve on their operations?
We need both. We need both.
Okay.
Because this is an area that, in spite of all the problems that we have, when regulated very well, we can be able to employ a large number of people and derive the necessary revenue that will help this country and help those who are engaged in those processes legally. So I believe that, yes, much as we have existing group of people who already are in the industry and working according to what plan and according to law, we need to also add more. But if we do, we must be conscious of the fact that we are not going to aggravate the situation that we have on the ground.
Yeah,
so
maybe
it calls for...
I should add on to that question. Now, with our difficulty in regulating the existing ones, which we all know has then brought us to the issue, the stage where we are dealing with galamsey all over, must we look at, streamlining the regulation of this sector, or adding on to the number, and of course would deepen the inability of the regulator to do the regulation?
I don't think it's difficult to add on. Okay. If we are mindful and we are careful of doing what is expected of us, right? The numbers, the number that you are adding on, you have at the back of your mind that you need extra support, extra measures, right? So you take all conditions into consideration and then you implement the policy. That is what I want to see. Okay. But you see, I would love a situation where Ghana will also venture into other areas and see what is happening. If you go to Latin America, You talk about Argentina, you talk about Chile, you talk about, Brazil or so. If you go there, they have a certain, program that local people, you go there, you go, if you want to do any mining, be it what, large scale or small scale, you go and have a conversation with them. Then they spell the rules of engagement to you. You do all the transaction with them. And then you come to government for what? Certificates, and then for all other legal processes. That's all. I am proposing this because it brings to sharp focus the involvement of those who are in what? The natives of the area, the chiefs and opinion leaders. If we are able to what? Bring them into the equation, it's going to help us to deal with this problem. And I believe that this type of example, the Ghanaian government will look at it and see how best we can marry the two to give us the best result. All that we are looking forward is the best results. And once we do that, look, we should be able to save our environment from all these hazardous materials we are throwing in there. Look at the effect on what water production in this country is very, very threatening. And what are we doing about it? So I believe that we need to put in appropriate measures and make sure that we ensure that the environment is first safe, and then we get also value for money. And then we are also able to leave something that will become a legacy for generation. We don't think about ourselves today, but let's think about the future and the future of this country. Otherwise, we are a failed society.
So a good one, but we must look at how the implementation is done. Let me bring in Dr. Edoafo here. Doc, Mr. Gyamfi also revealed that domestic gold refining would commence in October 2025, which is next month, through a partnership with the Gold Coast Refinery and the Bank of Ghana. He added that plans were underway for a state-owned gold refinery and International Organization for Standardization, ISO, certified asset laboratory near Kotoka International Airport, key component of a national strategy to shift Ghana from raw gold export to refined bullion and gold-based products. Way to go, I guess.
You see, there's a clear indication that government is really hinging on the gold sector as one of its key pillars for economic planning or for its development planning, which is good because, gold is a valuable asset, and, if well managed, we can have or harness a lot of capital or resources to help drive economic development. And so if I put into context, for example, the recent discussions with Goldfields Mining, Goldfields Damai, and the government's intention to take over, for example, and some of the communication that has come from government in terms of its plans to even take ownership of some of the local large-scale mining companies. The large-scale mining companies. It tells you that there's a certain agenda, there's a certain plan of government to use the gold space or sector as a catalyst for growth. What I will only admonish is that the government bring forth its plans, its intentions very clear, so that people or we, the citizens, will support government in that regard, so that it wouldn't have any misconceptions in terms of what government intends to do, in terms of the negative perception that comes around, for example, state ownership and state running its own companies, and the fallout that comes with public sector management systems. Refining gold is very good. It's very good. And it's just about gold. Most of our raw materials in this country, one of the things that we can do to help ourselves to create more employment, to add value, and then make sure we get more foreign exchange is really to add value to whatever we do here. And so to talk about refinery is a very good thing. However, my issue is always about the production. It's always about the production, how the production processes are done, where do we get the gold from, and all the other issues that comes with it. You see, we are now looking at investing so much money into the gold sector. I'm quite worried, Kojo, this morning, because if you look at what is happening now in the small-scale mining sector, okay, in fact, things have been so normalized when it comes to environmental destruction, to the extent that you go to a typical community in Prestia, Wase, Kropon, and all the galamsey areas, And the people, the actors involved, including the traditional authorities, the assembly members, and all the key, those who matter in the communities, are very much involved in these activities. And in fact, things have been so normalized that sometimes when you even talk about when you talk about following the law, it becomes almost like an impossible request. And so for us not to really tackle that issue very well, to change the current state of impunity, to change the current state of it is normal for me to enter the forest and go into the water bodies and mine, to really put in some fears into the people, for them to really move away from what I call convention now. It's quite a worry, because we are adding more to it with investment, small-scale mining operations, responsible mining operations. We are establishing new ones here and there. What signal are we also sending to those who are already engaged in the illegalities? What signal are we sending to them?
But won't it be possible that once government comes in and help establish these 300 responsible mining operations, it will then foster that sort of responsibility that we demand from these operators?
Kojo, let's start from somewhere. You see, government was in before, before small-scale mining escalated to the level that now we cannot control.
Okay.
Before galamsey got to its west stage that we are talking about now, they were responsible small-scale mining. In fact, they were registered and regulated small-scale mining companies.
What happened? They still are. Those small-scale mining operators are still in business.
They are still in business. But what are we happening now? We have report from the Minerals Commission itself telling us that there are some regulated or some small-scale mining companies which they have the permit, but they are mining illegally. So what caused the slip from those who have the permit supposed to be regulated, slipping into the illegal operations? Where was government? Where were the regulations? Where were the laws? And so it leaves to worry. However, it doesn't mean all hopes are lost, Kojo. If even government's intention is to establish these 300 responsible mining operations with the idea of using them as models for existing operations to learn from them, then I would just admonish that Sami Gyamfi and his team, government, should come very clear in terms of the strategy, the approach, the model that they intend to use to ensure that these 300, which probably may serve as models or may serve as a driving forces, how they are going to use the models to encourage the others who are not doing the right thing to join the pool. If not, and then this 300 is just established because we want to promote sustainable mining and leave it out for them to operate with the caveat that government is regulating them, to what extent can we be assured that at a point they will not also slip into the illegal operations? Because remember, regulations come with some restrictions. Regulations come with doing some activities which may not be so convenient. And every human being by default, want to do things that will make him or her comfortable at the expense of whatever sacrifice that he or she has to make. And so we need to be very strategic and clear in terms of the model. If not, I'm a bit skeptical about this whole thing and how it's going to help fight galamsey. Clearly, you can see that government intention or government has a very bold intention to generate a lot of good resources to help drive the economy. But we need to be very, very careful, because if not, the consequences will be very, very dire.
All right. Let's move on to page 20 of the Ghanaian Times. It says, Obasanjo urges Africa to avoid IMF dependence. Advocates push for unity, self-reliance. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has urged African nations to stop depending on global institutions such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and instead unite to drive their own development. Speaking during a fireside chat at the 4th Intra-African Trade Fair in Algiers yesterday, the former president, who chairs the IATF 2025 Advisory Council, said Africa must harness its collective strength to overcome, quote, the shame and indignity caused by slavery, slave trade, colonialism, and new coloniality, unquote, there. Mr. Braimah, let me come to you. We've heard various African leaders, past and present, talking about how we must avoid IMF and begin depending on ourselves. But when or where should the talking end and the action start?
Well, I should start by saying that, as they always say, talk is cheap. President Obasanjo has been a good leader, a great leader of our continent. I think he continues to play very significant roles even at his age. But I should then say that he was once president of Nigeria. And I don't think that people would have any strong basis to say that when President Obasanjo was president of Nigeria, things were so rosy, corruption was kept, and Nigeria really utilized the potential, the great potential that that country has. So I think that he would take part of the blame for where Nigeria is at the moment. But the call that he makes is significant, even if there have been mistakes in the past. I think we shouldn't just say because things have happened in a bad way in the past, we should continue on that path. Back home here in Ghana, I have no doubt in saying, for example, that if this government were to be able to recover just half of the monies that were stolen, looted under the previous regime, under the previous MPP regime, that would give us perhaps 10 times what we got from IMF, the last IMF support, with all the conditionalities that we are going through. In the same way, if this government is able to protect the resources of this country from the pillage that we've always witnessed, and if this government is even able to ensure that at least half, only half of the money that would have gone to corrupt officials is protected, I am quite confident that we would see a revolutionary development of our country. Look, if you look at some of the findings and the data on how monies have been looted in this country, sometimes you can only get depressed. I mean, look at even what happened at National Service. That is the current issue that we are all familiar with. You know, thousands of toddlers, thousands of people above the age of 100. National Service, at most, people should be paid for 13 months, 12 months of work and 1 month of transport. And then you have over 100,000 people over the last 5-6 years paid, some of them 72 times instead of 13, some of them 50. If you're looking at those who were paid more than 13 times as required, you are talking about over 100,000 people and over 1 billion Ghana cedis. And that is just that category. If you look at sanitation, and I would be quite disappointed if this government continues with the very corrupt deals with the Jospon group of companies. Look, you take the pollution and sanitation levy, for example, since it was introduced in 2022, and how much has been mobilized and how much has gone to one company. It's just alarming. You look at disbursement from the various ministries, and I think in the following days, we're really going to take on ministers and appointees who are determined to protect these corrupt deals and have them continue, and are not willing to even release information about contracts that were signed under the previous regimes, which are obviously corrupt contracts. And one wonders, what is the desire? Why are people willing to protect and preserve corrupt deals that happened under the previous regime? When this government came, the early days of this government, we heard about all manner of noise. Oh, these ECG containers, how much ECG containers were, things were imported and they are here, they are there. Over time, what has happened? What happened to all those issues about ECG containers and so on and so forth? Cocoa board, jute sacks, what happened to them? I want to believe that President Mahama, the golden opportunity that he has to leave an enduring legacy. I don't think that the legacy President Mahama can leave for his family is how much money he's able to make. I don't think the legacy he can leave for his family is how much houses he's been able to build and whether they are in Ghana or elsewhere. I think the legacy he can leave for his family that they will be proud of is that forever and ever, President Mahama will be mentioned and remembered as a good leader who once ruled or governed this country. And this is a golden opportunity that I expect that he wouldn't blow it away. And not blowing that away would mean that he has to really take up some radical measures. He would have to make some people very, very uncomfortable. He would have to surprise some of his party people and some of his party leaders with certain actions that he would take. He would have to burn some bridges. He would have to disappoint some religious leaders. He would have to disappoint some chiefs. And I can only hope that he will muster the courage and the confidence to do that. And that's the only way that we can be self-dependent and self-reliant, in a way that we would not need aid, in a way that we will not have to depend on IMF, in a way that we will not depend on, all the foreign things that sometimes would come with all the conditionalities that has kept us where we are.
But Mr. Braimah, on the Zoom Lion, wouldn't it be possible to tweak the agreement and still keep a Ghanaian business in operation?
I think that is the problem. I think that is the problem that we have. If we have a Ghanaian company that is working in Ghana and is not prepared to contribute significantly towards the development of this country, but rather engage in acts that would deprive this country of its vital resources, what is the value of such a Ghanaian business? Okay. We all want Ghanaians to thrive. We all want Ghanaians' businesses to grow. There are foreign businesses that are in Ghana and embassies here that are supporting businesses from their countries to thrive. If a Ghanaian business is doing the right thing, we should do everything possible to support such a Ghanaian business. But if a Ghanaian business is signing contracts, not executing the work, and yet getting paid, why must I say because it's a Ghanaian business, I will support that company? Okay. Read the Auditor General report about the number of district assemblies that have complained or written to the District Assembly's Common Fund to say, look, our sanitation contracts are not being performed. Don't deduct our share of the Common Fund to pay the contractor, and yet it is paid. We have a situation where in this country, how many airports do we have? And in 2022, for just 9 months, for only 9 months, almost 96 million Ghana cedis is paid to a company for supposed disinfection of airports and aviation facilities. We will soon bring out that report. And I hope that Ghanaians will be angry enough to demand that our government begins to take some radical actions to curtail all this waste and the corruption in the system. Until we become angry enough to demand the right things being done, and until we stop this whole business of defending and supporting Ghanaian businesses that are corrupt or that are engaged in corrupt practices, I don't think that will go anywhere. Okay.
Dr. Asante, I mean, what do we want to see as Africans, where we see that our leaders would end the talk and rather see them acting in our favor to ensure that we break that dependence on the IMFs and World Banks and Fitch and Co?
Strictly speaking, it is not out of our reach to break that dependency syndrome and then create a society that we can call our own, where we are able to turn things around because we have our destiny in our own hands, right? So normally I don't want to hear issues about, our predicament is because of what colonial rule, the rest of them. Countries have gone through colonial rule and they have moved out, and today they are doing wonders. So why can't we also, follow that direction? What we can do as a society, first, to ensure that we have democracy, because the dividends of democracy, some of which are what you see in this area, where you see improvement in our society, improvement in economy, and the rest of them. Two, we need good governance, that those who have given them the power to govern on our behalf follow the dictates or the tenets of good governance. One, They want to avoid corruption, which is one of the tenets of good governance. And if you look at the resources that go out of our hand through corruption, it's mind-blowing that if we are able to plug this hole, we'll be able to harness this opportunity and raking a lot of revenue for our country. Transparency International, the local branch, GII, Ghana Integrity Initiative, have said that we spend over $3 billion slip through our fingers through corruption. We are in IMF taking $3 billion, right? And two, the issue of making sure that we are physically disciplined. We ensure fiscal discipline of our, in the management of our country. If you look at most of the problems is because of indiscipline, fiscal indiscipline. We spend money anyhow because we have the opportunity to borrow, we borrow anyhow. Look at Auditor General's report. It's replete with a lot of financial improprieties. If we are able to deal with all these things, we'll be able to salvage this economy. And then more so, we should be able to manage the economy that we change its structure by adding value to the things we are noted of producing for ourselves, cash crops. What is the point of selling cocoa beans raw at this stage, in this age and time? And that we are so proud of, we got so many tons and all that. It doesn't mean anything to me. But we can add value where that will create industries and clear our roads of young people who are desperately looking for jobs.
Okay.
And that can help us.
Okay.
Not only that, we should be able to, as a society, demand that our leaders also govern and govern well. Sometimes we glorify them, even though they are not doing well, we glorify them. We want to attach ourselves to them because of hampers that we get from them and all that. Please, let's speak truth to power and damn the consequence.
Okay.
That is the only way that we can help our society. Otherwise, we'll continue to talk about, look, we'll not go to IMF, then at the end of the day, we'll go there. Look at a short time. The NDC is able to rake in about $7 billion from gold. What has happened over the years? Only God knows. So it tells me that if we're able to organize ourselves very well, we'll get to the promised land. Nkrumah said, organization decides everything.
Okay. Dr. Duafo, let me come to you with a story on majoronline.com. It says, Chairman of Parliament's Energy Committee, Emmanuel Bedra, has vowed never to approve any proposal brought forward by the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. Quote, as a chairman of the Energy Committee, I will not approve of anything the ECG will bring to us, unquote. He declared on Joy News PM Express on September 9. Mr. Bedra's stance comes in the wake of ECG's request to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PRC, for a 225% increase in its distribution service charge. Doc, must the chairman follow through with this?
Well, the question is, what is the reason behind the chairman's comment or response? Is it to appeal to the public or to appeal to the sentiment of the public? Or it is to really help address the issues with ECG? Is the comment trying to...
He explained that ECG's recent history of tariff adjustment had already generated anger in Parliament. Quote, the last time they increased by 17%, they came and we told them, well, you should have consulted and you didn't consult. How can you increase ECG tariff to 225%? He quizzed. Reflecting on his time as the ranking member for Works and Housing and Water Resources, Mr. Bedra admitted his earlier position on utility tariffs was more flexible. So, I'm sure his point is about, the inefficiencies in the system and
exactly
what should justify the increase in tariff.
Exactly. So, what it means is that we are looking at the internal issues with the ECG, and what we have always been talking about, not the ECG to pass on its mismanagement, its cost, its ineffectiveness to the people. You see, the ECG knows, and this is a canker in most of our public sector institutions, that when it comes to inefficiencies, it is really a big problem. And it is high time the politician stood firm and ensure that these institutions are running very effectively. I mean, recently the report that came out from with the state-owned institutions, enterprises, they are virtually breaking even, all of them. But if you pick them individually, most of them are running at losses. The question really is, if these institutions are run by the private sector, by private individuals, will they be running at losses? Would there be so much inefficiencies? And so for me, it's a good thing for the chairman to really crack the whip, but ensuring that we sometimes need to bite it hard so that people can do the right thing, at least. Because, look, if the ECG and most of these are public institutions, if they're able to reorganize themselves and be more prudent, there are lots of costs that will be saved. Okay. But just because I always say we tend to pamper our institutions, and so the moment they carry their basket, we need more, and then we make small noise, and then we just leave it there. Then they'll go and come back again. I think this should all be part of the reset agenda. We cannot continue like this. We cannot continue to press people necks till when? Now, water is demanding 250%. ECG is coming at how many percent? How are you expecting people to pay? What can you do also as an institution to help reduce these losses? Okay, people are tapping in illegal connections. I mean, public institutions are not paying for electricity, and we cannot go and chase them. Meanwhile, they are using these utilities for their operations, to also generate their own resources. So why can't we go to them and take our money? But then the poor household who earns 1,000 cedis or who is able to struggle to earn some living, you just, I mean, because it's so convenient from that side, you just impose the bill, and then you expect them to pay or keep quiet. And so I think the chairman's response in the right direction. It's really resonates with the concerns of the people, but we don't also expect them to make it look as if it's a public gimmick, where you come and say this, the next time there is some kind of flexibility, by the time you realize they have left it, and then we can't even hear them talking against it again. So we are begging the chairman and the committee, if that is the stand, we support it, and they should make sure they deal ruthlessly with this. They don't give up on them. I mean, they don't allow the political card to come into play, whereby at a point they will leave it. And if they allow things like this, it's go to their disadvantage, especially the government in power. Okay. Because the people ought to have some better standards in terms of cost of living. And so that is the little that I want to say, Kojo, with that. I'm grateful to you, Dr. Pakwesi Edrafol-Abeidu there. He is a development and policy analyst. Dr. Kwame Asasante is, the head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And then also Suleimana Braimah, Executive Director for Media Foundation for West Africa. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen. I don't know if, Dr. Asante, you want to wrap up with something before we bow out.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Suleimana Braimah, are you okay? Do you have last words that you want to leave with us? Okay, I guess that will be it for the news review. I'm grateful to you, gentlemen, for joining us on the news review today. Let me say a special good morning to you, Mr. Insentre. You are the CEO of Samatex Group. So we have Samatex Timber Processing Company, Samatex FC, and all of the companies under you. Wonderful, great guy. Wherever you are, I'm sure you're watching us. Good morning to you, and thanks for the great things you do for humanity. Well, so let's move on now. We'll take a break here. We will return with much more on this, but there's a lot that we are bringing you here on the AM show. Do stay with us.